For my daughter's 8th birthday, my parents mailed her a pink dress. She looked excited at first, but then suddenly froze. "What's this, Mommy?" she asked. I leaned in to get a better look, and my hands began to tremble. I didn't cry. I just reacted. The next morning, my parents wouldn't stop calling. The package had arrived on a Thursday, a brown box, one corner slightly dented. Maya's name was written across the shipping label, in my mom's handwriting. That familiar, careful slant she reserved for parcels and those subtly hostile Christmas cards. I didn't think much of it at the time, assumed it was a late birthday present. No big deal. I opened the door, brought the box inside, and set it on the table, right beside some half-finished cereal bowls and a unicorn drawing Maya had only half-colored. The usual morning mess. Maya's eyes lit up when she saw it. She adores getting mail. You could wrap a pebble in tissue and she'd treat it like treasure. She'd thank you like you'd just cleared her college debt. She was wearing socks that didn't match and still had toothpaste on her chin. I told her to go ahead and open it, so she did. Inside, wrapped in a single sheet of crisp white tissue paper, folded neatly, just like my mother always does. Maya peeled it back and let out a small gasp. "It's a dress," she said, holding it up. It was pink, soft, with tiny embroidered stars scattered near the hem, the kind of thing you'd wear to a storybook-themed brunch, or maybe a third-grade piano recital. Definitely not my style, but Maya looked like it was the most magical thing she'd ever laid eyes on. "Wow," my husband said, glancing briefly from his laptop. "Fancy. She'll outgrow it in a few weeks." "Probably," I replied, not unkindly. Maya gave the hem a twirl, spun herself around in a gentle circle. I almost called it sweet. And then she stopped. Not slowly, not with any drama. She just froze. She stared at the front of the dress as if it had spoken out loud, her brows furrowed. "Mommy," she said, "what is this?" I stood and crossed the room. She turned the dress so I could see the front. And that was the moment. That exact second. Everything inside me started to shake loose. There it was. Tiny white thread, embroidered in cursive, positioned just above the chest. Little Emily. My hands began to tremble before I even processed what I was seeing. "What's wrong?" Maya asked. Her voice was small, uncertain. My husband walked over and squinted at the stitching. "That's weird. Maybe they meant to personalize it and just got the name wrong?" "Was it a mistake?" Maya asked. "Did they think I was someone else?" She looked up at me again. "Who's Emily?" I didn't respond. Not out loud. But in my mind, I said it. "We don't speak of Emily in this house. Not because it's forbidden, but because we know better." "I don't mind," Maya said. "It's still pretty. I can wear it, even if the name's not mine." "No," I said, "you're not putting it on." "But it's okay. You're not wearing it." I didn't raise my voice, but I left no space for argument. I took the dress, gently, but with finality. I left the room. Didn't slam anything. Didn't explain. I just walked into the bedroom and closed the door behind me. I sat on the edge of the bed, still holding the dress. My hands shook so badly the fabric trembled in my grip. It wasn't the same dress, but it might as well have been. Same shade of pink, same rounded collar, same scattered star embroidery. They hadn't saved the original. They had a new one made, and then stitched her name on it. As if that were some kind of kindness. As if that made sense. My breathing got shallow. You know that feeling? Like your lungs aren't big enough for the air you're trying to take in. I kept it on my lap like I was waiting for it to say something else. Outside the door, nothing. Silence. Maya didn't follow me. She's learned when to give me space. I hate that she's already figured that out at her age. I stared at that name. And this is the part where I'm supposed to explain. Why it mattered. Why it wrecked me. Why I sat in a room holding a brand new pink dress like it was a live grenade, but I won't explain not yet because you'd think I was overreacting. You'd think it's just a name. It's just embroidery. It's just a dress. You'd be wrong. That name changed everything. That dress, that was the line after this. Nothing would be the same, not between me and my parents. Emily is my sister. But that's just the start of it, before Maya ever saw that dress. I'd seen it before, not exactly, but close enough that my hands remembered the shape before my mind did. There was a moment, a room, a celebration, and a dress almost exactly like this one. That's where it started. It wasn't just the name that was the first thing I noticed. Sure, the cursive white embroidery, stitched across the front of the dress like a label on something factory sealed. Little Emily. But it wasn't just the name, it was everything else. The fabric, the color, the length, the stars. I hadn't seen that dress in 20 years, but somehow my body remembered it before my brain did. Like the air shifted, like it carried something old. They hadn't bought this off a rack. They hadn't stumbled on it by chance. They had it made custom carefully, like a memory they wanted to wear again. I sat with it for a long time, not crying, not speaking, just sitting. And at some point, quietly, I thought this wasn't for Maya, it was for them. Because this wasn't the first time they gave a pink dress to a little girl in the family and acted like it meant something. It was my birthday. I was turning 6. We had company over, aunts, cousins, neighbors who weren't really friends but showed up anyway. Because my mother had a gift for guilt invitations, but no one said happy birthday to me because Emily had just gotten into a dance group, a youth program with a name like Star Steps or Sparkle Academy, something sparkly and big. The celebration wasn't for me, not really. Emily came out in her pink, dressed the original one, spinning. Like she'd been born with stage lights in her eyes. Everyone clapped. Someone took a photo. My mother beamed like she'd won an award. I stood at the edge of the room, holding a juice box. At one point, I walked up to her, my mom, and said quietly, "It's my birthday." She didn't look at me when she said it. "Don't make this about you." I remember walking back to the couch and sitting down. I remember thinking, oh, it wasn't the first time Emily outshined me. It was just the first time I realized I would never catch up. She was 2 years older, but the space between us felt endless. She had the kind of charm that made teachers lean in and listen. She could walk into a room and come out with everyone's admiration stuffed into her back pocket. She wasn't cruel, not exactly. She just absorbed all the light, and the rest of us got used to squinting. I used to mimic her handwriting, her posture, even her laugh. I believed there had to be a formula, and if I could just decode it, maybe I'd finally receive the same warmth she did. But no matter how much I practiced, I never figured out how to become her. Years went by. We got older. Emily drifted from job to job, city to city, relationship to relationship. She always lingered just long enough to draw admiration, but never stayed long enough to settle down. She didn't vanish. She simply moved too quickly for the rest of us to keep up. Then she made an announcement. She was launching a brand, not just a store, a brand. It was going to be trendy, sustainable, high impact, low waste. She had the lingo down so perfectly that I almost believed she understood it all. She showed us a website, mock-ups of handmade clothing, professionally staged sample photos. She said she had partnerships lined up, said there were already buyers waiting. She claimed all she needed was funding to expand production. It wasn't a gift, she made that very clear. It was an investment. She guaranteed full repayment within a year, maybe even triple the return, depending on how fast the second collection took off. At first, the requests were modest, a couple hundred here, 1,000 there. She made sure never to ask for too much at once. She sent us updates, screenshots, invoices, even what looked like messages from interested buyers. Then came larger requests. She said a boutique in Los Angeles had placed a big order, and she needed money up front to cover manufacturing. Next, she mentioned a showroom in New York. Then an influencer supposedly asked for exclusive rights. We believed her. My parents gave what they could afford. I gave more than I should have. Because she wasn't just my sister. She was the star. And when she glowed, the rest of us got to bask in a bit of that light too. Until the day she stopped answering. First came delays, then ignored calls, then vague messages saying she was overwhelmed and just needed a little more time. And then silence. And with her silence, the money disappeared too. At first, we feared something terrible had happened. Some accident, some crisis, but nothing ever surfaced. What did arrive was a brief letter. Flat, emotionless. She said she had moved abroad, that she needed distance and time. She hoped we'd understand. No apology, just that. And gradually, painfully, we pieced together the truth. There was no business, no production line, no suppliers, no purchase orders. Only a website, and behind it nothing. She had taken every dollar we gave her and spent it, not on fabric or marketing or logistics, but on herself. Travel, hotels, gifts, and who knows what else. She took everything and then vanished. The damage went beyond just the financial. It became legal. I started receiving calls about accounts I had never opened, credit lines I'd never used. She had taken out loans in my name, open credit cards. Small balances at first, then more, each time growing. Always staying just ahead. The police called it a civil dispute. The bank said it was my word and my word against hers. The debt sat there, accruing interest, dragging me down. My parents were shattered. They said it again and again. We're broken, as if saying it often enough might somehow make me forget what they'd done. But they were the ones who gave her the matches, and I helped strike them. I stepped in, took on extra shifts, helped with their mortgage, covered their late bills, one after another, until my hands trembled each time the month came to an end. And through it all, I truly believed we were in this together. I thought we had all learned the same hard lesson until the comments started. Maya looks just like Emily did at that age. She has her spark. Maybe she'll dance too at first. I thought it was nostalgia. Then the gifts came, the books, the outfits, the soft push toward old familiar shapes, and then came the dress and everything that followed. I didn't react the way I thought I might. No, yelling no, sharp breath, just a stillness that settled in my spine and wouldn't leave. I picked up my phone instead. Still sitting on the edge of the bed, dressed beside me like a sleeping ghost. I opened my banking app, then another, each one blinking open like a polite assistant asking what I needed. I canceled the grocery card reloads. I canceled the monthly transfers I canceled. The half payment I'd been making toward their mortgage, gone. It was quiet, mechanical, almost soothing, like deleting old voicemails. I didn't even pause to second guess it. My body was operating on something older than thought. I left the apps open a few moments longer than necessary just to remind myself it was finally over. Then I stood up, folded the dress, laid it carefully on the desk in the corner, and went to bed the next morning. I woke up before the sun. Maya was still asleep. My husband was up making coffee, bleary-eyed, but already in his work shirt. You sure? He asked when he saw me holding the dress. I nodded. I won't be long. Can you get her ready for school? Of course, he didn't ask anything else. I folded the dress again, this time into a plain brown paper bag, added a handwritten note, 3 short sentences, each one heavier than it looked. You lost one daughter. I'm the one who stayed. You just never noticed. Don't contact me again. I'm not covering your debts anymore if you want someone to bail you out, ask Emily. The drive was quiet, not long, but long enough for me to second guess it. I didn't. Their house looked exactly the same, which felt like a joke. I wasn't in. On same overgrown rosemary bush, out front. Same cracked flower pot, same dent in the garage door. From the year Dad tried to back out too fast, on New Year's Eve. I got out, walked to the porch, set the bag down, no doorbell, no passive-aggressive knock, just me, standing there, then walking away. The first call came at 9:00 a.m., then another by 10:00. I had 6 missed calls and 2 voicemails by 11:00. I stopped counting. I listened to one of the voicemails just to get a taste, my mother's voice sharp with disbelief. What is this? You're returning a birthday gift. What kind of message is that? Then my father background grumbling. And what does she mean? She's not going to pay anymore. What the hell is she talking about? More calls, more texts. Most of them unanswered. Some of them unrepeatable at 12:27. I picked up. I don't know why. Maybe because part of me wanted to hear them say it to my face. Or maybe I wanted to say something back. My mother didn't waste time. You're being cruel, she snapped. You're doing this to punish us for something that wasn't even our fault. Really, she fooled all of us. And yet you keep asking me to pay for it. She's your sister. She was your favorite. Don't be petty. That one almost made me laugh. Almost we lost her. My mother said quieter now. You know that we lost a daughter. You didn't lose her. She stole everything you gave her and ran. So now you're going to take Maya from us too. I sat with that, let it echo a bit. You don't want Maya, I said. You want Emily, you're just trying to find her and someone else. That's not fair. No, I said, what's not fair is that I was the one who stayed. I was the one who cleaned up after her. I worked 2 jobs, I sent you money every month, and none of it was ever enough. Was it? That's not true, then. Name one time you looked at me and didn't see a disappointment in silence exactly. You're being dramatic. I'm being done. I hung up, then I blocked the number. I deleted all the calendar reminders. Rent, help, grocery. Card transfer for water. Bill, I opened a blank spreadsheet, named it Things That Are Mine. There wasn't much in it yet, but for once it was clean. It wasn't peace, but it was mine. I thought it was over, that the worst had already happened. I was wrong. I thought the dress was the turning point. The phone calls, the blocked numbers, the canceled payments. I thought that was it. The fire burned through, damage contained, but there was more coming. The kind of more that doesn't show up until you think it's safe to sit down, the kind that creeps in sideways and makes you realize the floor you were standing on wasn't actually solid. At first it was noise, cousins, aunts, people who hadn't spoken to me in years, suddenly finding their voice. You really cut your parents off over a dress. You need to talk to someone. This isn't normal. They're your family. The texts rolled in with the same rhythm. Some polite, some self-righteous, some pretending to care. One even added a praying hands emoji, which honestly felt worse than if they'd just called me names. I ignored them all, and then came the call. I never expected. Unknown number. Late afternoon. I was folding laundry and thinking about nothing, which was rare and nice. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Hey, I froze. I hadn't heard that voice in 5 years, but my body remembered it immediately. Emily. I heard you cut them off, she said. No small talk. No apology. Just that they told you that, yeah, I've been talking to them there. It was the part. They never said the part. I hadn't even thought to ask about you've been talking to them this whole time, pretty much. Where have you been? She hesitated. Around, I repeated. You vanished. Do you know what that was like? You didn't call. You didn't message. We didn't know if you were even alive. I needed space. You needed money. Silence. I sat down slowly. Socks still in my hands. I wasn't even folding anymore, just holding them like they'd keep me grounded. You stole from us. I didn't did you told us it was an investment you promised returns. You had fake clients, fake invoices, fake everything. And you took everything we gave you. I didn't mean you wrecked my credit. You opened accounts in my name. Do you know what that did to me? I had to work 2 jobs. I couldn't qualify for a mortgage. I had to put everything I wanted on hold so I could pay off what you did. She breathed in sharply, but said nothing. You ruined us, I said low and flat, and then you disappeared. I didn't know what else to do. Try starting with. Sorry, they need you, she said suddenly. Deflecting, like she always did. They're getting older. Things aren't easy, so why don't you help them? Another pause. It's complicated. I can't right now. Things have been tight. You were always the stable one was. You have a job, a home, a family. You're good at this. I stared at the floor. My hands had gone still in my lap. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Controlled, soft, practiced they. Don't say it, but they appreciate what you've done, she said. I just thought you should know. They're struggling. I already know. Then why cut them off? Because I'm tired. Everyone gets tired, she said. And for a second I thought she might actually sound human. But that doesn't mean you give up. No, I said. But it means I finally start choosing myself, something you've always been great at. She didn't respond. Then, if you want to throw everything away because you're angry, that's on you. And just like that, she hung up. I stared at the phone for a long while. A part of me had still hoped it would be different, even now, even after everything. But she hadn't called to reconnect. She'd called to push a button that used to work. And when it didn't, she simply hung up, just like she always did, whenever things became too difficult. The next morning, there was a knock on the door. It was early. I was in the middle of making coffee. Maya was upstairs, getting dressed. My husband opened the door before I had the chance to stop him. And there they were, my parents. My mother held a cake box in both hands. My father stood behind her, like a statue burdened with financial issues. We just want to talk, she said. We're not here to argue. I didn't invite them inside, didn't even take a step forward. I stood still in the kitchen, arms crossed, coffee mid-pour. You've been talking to Emily, I said. They didn't deny it. We have, my mother replied, for some time now. How long? Since the first year she left. So, all this time she needed help, and you needed money, which I gave you, and you used my money to help her. It wasn't like that. No, it was exactly like that. Then my father spoke for the first time. She's in trouble, he said. Serious trouble. She's afraid. She's always afraid, I shot back. She made mistakes. She's your sister. And I'm your daughter. They didn't reply. I was the one who stayed. I was the one who helped. And you let me believe I was helping you, when all along I was helping her. You just didn't say it out loud. We didn't know how to tell you. I let out a bitter laugh, quiet, sharp. You watched me juggle 2 jobs. You watched me pay your bills. And you said thank you, straight-faced, while sending my money to the very person who caused the mess. It's not that simple. Then explain it. Make it simple. Make it make sense. But they couldn't. She's our daughter too, my mother finally said. So am I. My husband hadn't spoken since he opened the door. Now he stood behind me, arms folded, expression unreadable. Not angry, just done. I think it's time for you to go, he said calmly. They didn't argue. They just looked at me, as if I were the one who'd broken something. And maybe I had. It's been over a year since that morning. I haven't heard a word from them. No calls, no texts, nothing from their side, and nothing from mine. I heard through someone, a second cousin maybe, or one of those distant family acquaintances, who still think group emails count as personality, that Emily came back. Apparently things abroad didn't pan out. When the money dried up, so did the stability. She's living with my parents again. I suppose that adds up. She always knew where to fall. They're selling the house now. Too much upkeep, too many expenses. It's not the first time she's left them drained, but it might be the first time they've realized it. I didn't ask where they're going. I don't want to know. Maya doesn't bring them up anymore. She used to. Small things, like whether Grandma would come to her next recital. But eventually, the questions faded. Children understand more than we think. Now it's just us, the 3 of us. Sunday mornings mean pancakes. Maya blasts music while brushing her teeth. My husband fixed that cabinet hinge I ignored for years. And I sleep now. Really sleep. The kind where you wake up and feel like you're somewhere safe. No pink dress in the closet, no silent comparisons in the air. Just Maya being Maya. Just me, finally something other than the one who stayed. Was it too much? Was it not enough? Leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe.